And we are back, dear viewers, on this beautiful evening. We're joined by Mr. Hamza Taqi, a master performance consultant. Good evening to you, Hamza. It's a pleasure to have you.
Good evening to you and to our audience, and I'm really glad to be among you.
Thank you so much. We are really glad to have you here on Hala Kuwait, talking all about everything new, really. And today we're going to be talking about the social awareness that's happening here in our beautiful state of Kuwait. Could you please implicit on it?
Well, social awareness is basically it's a pillar from the emotional intelligence. So basically, it's kind of you are aware of where you are and the surrounding, and you are caring for others that are, using the streets with you, using the highway, using even the sidewalk. Using the public buildings and the malls and stuff. You have to be really aware of the social surrounding, and you have to behave in a certain way that is, aligned with your values and with our traditions and our belief system.
Yes, so talking more about tradition and the past and the present, Hamza, how do you see the social norms changing from the past to the present times?
Well, that's a big change. I mean, when we were children, I mean, and at least in our neighborhood, when anybody comes strange, he'll be asked, "What are you doing here?" And so the neighborhood was protective. And even in any other places, I mean, if you look at Kuwait was walled, with gates. You have to come into Kuwait city, but through a gate, and you have to get out through a gate. And even in Damascus and in Italy, you still have the same kind of protection. You have a wall, and you have one gate that you go through into the city. And now it became more open, and and then different cultures came in, and so we changed and we evolved. Some of it's really good, and some of it is not good.
Yes, definitely. Talking about the positive side of it, we had such a rich culture here in our beautiful Kuwait. Absolutely. I really love the past that happened here in Kuwait. Yeah. And as you mentioned, also these other countries, they also have beautiful cultures too. Right. Right. So more about ethical values and what should we really perceive our children these days and pass them on to?
Well, it's like, we are one and connected, and we have to take care of each other. I mean, you cannot live in silos unless you are a monk, living on the mountain. So we need to, allow our children to explore and to interact. Of course, the school does that as well. In the school, you meet different cultures, you meet different people, and that kind of, it takes you out of the shell. If you're only staying in one place, same area, same people, you kind of, you stay like a.
You become antisocial.
Yeah, you become antisocial, and only the people that you know and the people who are around you that you interact with, and you'd be stranger with others. But now, with the internet, with the connection, we became a global village. Mm-hmm. So all the countries, we know what's happening all over the place. The news comes to us through social medias and other, social means. So we are part of, the planet Earth, and we have to understand that we are a part of this planet Earth, and as we influence this situation, it influences as well. And like if I talk in the old days, for example, I'm a victim of that. We didn't care about, for example, the planet Earth. We didn't care about the sea. We thought everything we dump in the sea, it will be, diluted, and the sea will not be affected. And now we're reaping what we've done a long time ago by dumping stuff on the sea, or when we go to the desert during, springtime and winter time, we put camps and we put stuff, and then we don't clean after that, and we are really doing damaging to our environment, to our place, and now with the knowledge that we have and the openness that we have, I think our children even now, they kind of aware about this, and they want to protect the planet and the environment.
Yes, I totally agree with what you said about the past, and that you were a victim really of the knowledge back then, and really the development of this knowledge, and now we are part of social awareness here on Hala Kuwait, giving all kinds of information to our viewers through TV.
Right.
So we want to ask you more about how can families share the developmental things and values with their children more efficiently?
We have to talk about it a lot. Like, for example, you cannot expect your child to adhere to a certain values or certain belief system without repeating it. So, and using a certain situation that happens to our children, maybe in school, maybe at home, maybe in the neighborhood, and using that situation to instill those values and those systems into them, so they are aware of it more and more. Saying it once and forgetting about it, that tells the child, it tells me that it's not important and I shouldn't, entertain it. But if it's repeated all the time, then I say, oh, my parents are really serious about this, and I would behave accordingly, respecting the others, letting the person who is on your right to get into the elevator or through the door, rather than pumping on each other. Yeah.
Yes, and especially respecting also the elders, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Could you give us more examples about how can parents teach their kids more often about responsibility and also empathy?
Can I tell you a story?
Yes, please.
The other day I was leaving my house in the neighborhood, and it was like internal streets, not even the main streets. And there was a person who was driving the car, and all of a sudden they throw a bag of food. They eat and their children is there. So if I'm a child and I see my dad or my mother throw garbage outside, then I will do the same. Especially when you are, from age 0 to 7, because from age 0 to 7, the children they're like magnets. They're just taking. They see the environment, what's happening, especially with the adults, what they're doing, and they just, observe it and take it in, and they think that's the right way, and that's how they do things. So we have to be really careful, especially in front of our kids. I mean, we have to be careful all the time, but in front of our kids, so we don't give the bad habits and the bad behaviors and taking it to them. So we have to be really, conscious about our behavior, what we are doing, and instead of throwing the garbage outside and making your car clean, but the street dirty, in the other way around, when you go to the desert, when you go to the beach, take with you a plastic bag and walk around with your children if the weather is nice and permits. Walk around and pick stuff and try to talk with your children about how nice it is when the place is clean. It's more welcoming. It has a better energy. But if everybody comes and dump stuff and leave, we're gonna be living in like dumpsters, So it's small things like this will affect the children on how they see things, especially in their childhood time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Mentality-wise, it definitely replicates
Absolutely.
What their parents actually do, and they carry it, as you said, above 7 years old.
Yes,
also.
Yes, it goes subconsciously, and they think, oh, this is okay, this is fine, because my dad did it long time ago, or my mom did it long time, and they do. Or, for example, still with thank God, with the laws that has been enforced, and especially in the street, in the cars. If I'm the dad and I'm always, picking up the phone while I'm driving, what's the message I'm giving my children? So these settles issues. We have to be really careful in front of our children, and we have to be the role model for them. I sometimes say even the police cars, you know, if the police car will cross the stop sign or the red light, or they don't put their seat belts. So I am, as an ordinary citizen, what do? They are my idol. They should be my idol. So if they take care of that, then I'll behave much better. Seeing the police and those law enforcement, they are applying the rules, applying the law, and so I'll be applying the law as well. But if everybody is just living like, we'll be living like in a jungle. And no one wants to be there, you know?
Yes. I really love the law enforcement, as you said, when they, especially now on patrolling the streets, they give signals like to turn right or left.
To go,
This also encourages the people driving the car.
Absolutely. And we have a culture somehow that if you signal, you are, I don't know, you're seen as weak. If you're strong, you don't signal, you just turn. You know, but signaling is a communication tool. You're respecting yourself. You're respecting others. You're telling others that I'm gonna change the lane to the right or to the left, so the other people can expect you and see you. Now, sometimes you see big trucks, big cars, or like company cars, or big buses. They are not signaling, or they're big bus. Usually in other parts of the world, we see, like the big bus and the transportation buses, they always are on the right lane. They never go. And in some places, you see them going, in between. They're changing one, they're moving here, they're moving there, as if they're like a little car. Even little car shouldn't do that. I mean, but even buses, they do it. And that's why, because, they get away with it. And somehow human being, when they get away with things, they kind of repeat it. Unless they are,
Inshallah, with time, Hamza Taqi, as you mentioned, part of the Ministry of Interior, they have many awareness messages through TV, absolutely, through radio. They are spreading the awareness, and it really takes time for the community to apply that awareness.
And when they are hit in their wallet, really, I mean, people are people, and when they are hit, like, for example, we go to Europe and we see them very much systematic and, applying the law and so on. It's not because they are better or worse. They're just because they get, the fine immediately on their mobile. And if they don't pay in the same day, they pay double sometimes. So they will behave. And unfortunately, human nature is like that. And the other day, we saw some of the announcement or the awareness of the Ministry of Interior, where they, when you are in the traffic light and in front of you, people are not moving, and you move and you block the road because you're not going to move, you're not going to stop. Why you stop in the middle of the road where you block the other lane, but you can wait here? You can stop here, and when it goes red and the other lane or the other street has a green, they can move very smoothly rather than creating,
Definitely, we're talking about adulthood driving cars, but now we want to focus more on children.
Yes.
And how can schools work with the families to strengthen the knowledge of these students during their school time?
Of course, school plays a big role, and it's part, we sometimes, even, our children, sometimes they spend more time in school than at home. If you take the sleeping hours. So they are more conscious in school. They have more hours spending in school with their teachers, with their colleagues, and with the other students. And sometimes the effect of the school is more. And I remember my little one, once we were sitting at lunch, and I was talking, and she looked at me and she said, "Dad," and I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, You're talking and food in your mouth." And I thought, wow, this is really a good feedback. And I encouraged her. I said, "Thank you for telling me that." And that, stayed with me. And I'll be more aware about, let's say we are sitting in business lunch together, and I'm eating and I'm talking. Well, it doesn't look right, you know. So that, you know, genuine feedback, we should encourage our children to tell us. So where did she learn that? It was in school, not at home. Maybe, I don't know, maybe her mother taught her. But I'm not aware of it. But, you know, so it's, the school has a big role. And, you know, it's the behavior that counts more, or the emotional intelligence more than, you know, being smart in the book and doing the homework. But you cannot, you know, behave in a certain way. All this investment is gone for waste.
Yes, definitely. Got to keep your children safe and everybody's children safe, really.
Yes.
But dear viewers, we shall take this next insightful report and we shall be back to ask Hamza Taqi more questions. Stay tuned. And we're back, dear viewers, on this beautiful evening. We're still joined by our guest, Hamza Taqi, a master in performance and a consultant too. It's really a pleasure to be talking to you, Hamza, here in Hala Kuwait.
The pleasure is all mine, my friend. I'm really,
you.
you know, humbly appreciative.
All right. Thank you. So we want to go back to these youngsters and their ethical values that they face today. What kind of challenges these young people face?
Well, again, because of the different cultures, the different way of you know, taking care of our children. Each, like let's say, each group of people or each family, they have their own standards, their own values, their own, you know, behavioral style, and how would they want to show, being shown in the public or in the community. So one of the things that I remember that could be done is that, you know, especially when they are grown up, they can read and they can, you know, interact and they can see things and they are more conscious. And that's usually from the age of 8 till, you know, whatever. But if we involve them in the sense of values, what we value, what are we all about, what is the virtues that we want to have in the family. For example, cooperation, no competition, no comparing, and we discuss them with them, and we have them, you know, contribute and get involved in contributing to the value of the family. That what are we all about? For example, lying is not you know, accepted. And how would you do that in the family if I am the father and if I do some mistake or I somehow, you know, do something wrong, and I come forward and I say, by the way, I did this mistake. Now I'm being vulnerable, and as a result, the children, they say, oh, okay, if somebody makes a mistake, they can come forward and say it. So they say the truth, no matter what it is, even if nobody knows about what happened. But coming forward and saying it and using that as a case, so your children understand they're not going to be punished for saying the truth, even if they done a mistake. Now, mistakes are inevitable. We all make mistakes, but how we interpret that mistake, it makes a big difference. And whether we are learning from that mistake, it makes a huge difference, or we're just repeating the mistake the same. Then we are being stubborn and we want to do whatever we want, no matter what the result of our behavior and what we do.
All right, definitely. And yes, as you mentioned, it really comes from the parents first, teaching their children. And when the children see this ethical manner being implemented from the parents, I'm sure they will accept it, and also they will not be able to lie and be more transparent with the family.
Because they feel safe. You know, they feel safe. You know, sometimes we are afraid of punishment, so we lie. Let's say we're working here in KTV2, and I use the computer and I make a mistake in the computer and I ruin the computer. But nobody knows, okay? Now I can stay quiet so I don't get punished. And that small mistake, if I trusted the environment and I came forward and I say, by the way, I was playing with the computer and the program got ruined, in the same time, then the solution will be faster. Rather me just ignoring it because nobody saw it. But we have to remember that God is up there. He sees everything, and we need to be, aware of that and come forward so the problem can be solved immediately rather than, keeping it, and it will become bigger and bigger and the damage will be huge.
All right, so Mr. Hamza Taqi, we want to drift a little bit towards social media.
Yeah.
And how can social media users or social media in a whole gain from benefiting, spreading awareness to these people, especially youngsters? You see these reels these days, all kinds of wrong intelligence being passed on to children.
Yeah.
How can they use it in a beneficial way?
Well, first of all, we have to have some boundaries, and I feel that we need to decide for our children, if they are young, at what age are they going to be accessing social media, and the later the better, because the damage of social media is really affecting our children really bad. They see stuff and they compare themselves to what they see. They think this is, what they're supposed to do, and they're supposed to be an influencer or, fashionista or whatever, the terminology that they use these days. Because they see them, they are traveling, they're doing so many stuff, and they have a lot of money and so on and so. So that it's not real. As long as you know that this is not real, and you have to sit with your children and watch what they are watching and guide them a little bit, especially in the beginning. There is nothing wrong of sitting with your child and telling them this is an open world. This is the whole world, and there is nothing stopping it. So you might see, things that are not according to our values and our principles. And you have to be careful, and you have to be honest with yourself to not to see these things, and just to and the algorithm somehow works to that benefit. So if you're focusing on documentaries, for example, you will get to see all documentaries related to, for example, your subject matter expertise. For example, you like, for example, marketing. So you'll see all the marketing reels and stories and stuff. So you gain something, you gain some tips, you gain some knowledge for your skills, and increase your skills hopefully in marketing. But if you like football, you will be always watching football and liking the football reels and stuff. So the algorithm will know that you like football, so you'll see a lot of footballs. And as I said, it's an open, the sky's the limit. So sitting one-on-one with our children and telling them, what's out there, and not everything is real. There are a lot of fake stuff there. And for me, I, learned from my daughter again. My older one, one of the triplets, she's the youngest, but my older daughter, and because she's analytical type, she goes deep and she analyzes stuff. Me, I like the thing, I like it, a product, I say, I want to buy it. Now I check with her, and she said she'll go to the reviews, she check other websites and stuff, and she analyzes and Baba, this is fake, So sometimes they are better than us in these things because of their education, because they were born in a time better than us, because they were born with the iPad, with all the technology and so on. So they're aware of it better than us. So sometimes we need to learn from them.
Yes,
especially if they are adults.
Taking the point of view of a Gen Z is really important these days. Yeah.
Absolutely. And they are really, I mean, I hear a lot of, I work with corporates and stuff. I hear a lot of, how are we dealing with the Gen Zs? They don't want to work. They're always relaxed and so. No, they're different because the world is different. Everything in their fingertips. They don't need to. Maybe God created them in that manner so they are ready for the technology, for the AI. They'll be better than us. So, subhanallah, and God create, certain timing for certain people are, and we have to accept that, and we must embrace them. They are our children. If we don't embrace them, who is going to embrace them? And we have to, get their ideas, involve them in the decision making, because at the end of the day, if we are like, let's say, if we are a for-profit company and we want to sell, these are the guys who are buying. So we need to see how they think psychologically and what do they like and so on. So we offer the product and services that targeted to that segment of people.
Yes, definitely. As you mentioned, Allah Almighty's wisdom is always in place, and it's always a good thing to have.
Yes.
So we want to talk more about the real life examples of this social community that's happening, as we mentioned, Generation Z, and how can ethics positively impact this community?
Well, believe it or not, sometimes they are more ethical than adults. This is my own, observations, working with organizations, with Gen Zs, training some Gen Zs and stuff. They are, they have a vision. They want to do things. And frankly speaking, I don't feel that anybody wants to do wrong. We're all by nature. We want to be good. We want to do good things. We want to do good deeds. But sometimes the environment around us, sometimes a school, friends influence us, and we think, or social media, we see certain, celebrities acting in certain ways, and we think, oh, that's the right way, or this is the proper way to act, and that will be an issue. So we have to be really close to our, to this kind of generation, and we have to involve them with us, not to separate them and saying these are different and we are different. The way we brought up is different. The way they brought up is different. It's like, my dad or my dad generations, they see us as, as lazy. I remember, once my dad asked me, he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I'm tired." He says, "What do you mean you're tired?" I said, "I just came from work." He looked at me and said, don't you work in the office? I said, "Yeah, I have my own office." He said, "Is it air conditioned?" I said, "Yeah, it's air conditioned." So how can? And I said, "Well, mentally tired, But they, in their life, they were in the sea, or they are cutting woods and, building ships and stuff in the sun, and all different weathers, and the nail is this long, and they are hitting it and to build the ship. And for them, our life is easy and it's basic. Now we look at our children or Gen Zs, and we say, oh, they have AI and they use, certain AIs and they get stuff. They make their reports, school reports. But this is life. It's changing, and the only, constant in this world is change. So change is going to happen, and we have to embrace change, and we have to live with it, and we have to learn from them, actually, rather than making them live backward. We have to, jump into their life.
Yes, as you mentioned, the history always builds blocks to the better generation in the future.
Absolutely.
All right, so more about the family side of you and the practical activities that they can do to build more positive impact on their beautiful children inside the family.
Well, it's spending quality time. Because, see, we are busy now. I'm talking about myself. I'm busy in my work, and I'm always active and engaged and stuff. But sometimes you need to spend quality time in the weekend, traveling through the summer, vacationing together and really spending quality time one-on-one. And sometimes when you, for example, you have a certain errands you want to make, grab your child with you and, talk to them on the road, and you use, as much as you can, try to be present with your children so they feel you are there, and they can rely on you, they can come to you for help, for assistance, for knowledge, for wisdom.
Yes.
But if you are not in touch and if you are always busy, who they're going to go to? Maybe the maid, maybe somebody else. And that could be, a factor of danger. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, the bad guy is always waiting for this
opportunities.
Space.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
And as you mentioned, the fun activities really for me as a child, I really love the sea.
Yeah.
I really loved to go fishing on the boat,
Yeah.
on the beach.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yes, and we have beautiful beaches and we have beautiful islands, and we can really enjoy and have fun with our children and always, even staying at home. Sometimes the weather it doesn't help. Stay at home and do something. Do camping in the at home. Put a tent in the middle of the living room and play some games together and so on. There are a lot of games that are really good for cognitive and so on. Sometimes you need to do stretching exercises and stuff with the children, with all of you. So they are practicing, they're doing stuff together, and they create memories, creating memories with your children because they grow up very fast, really, Before you know it, they are adults. And if you are having a big gap between them since they are children, because you're busy at work, you're busy in your business and so on, and you create a big gap, once they are adults, and then now you want to discipline, you know how they look at us? Who are you? Why are you here? Where were you all these years? You were busy at work, now you want to discipline me? And especially when you become an adult. I remember when I became an adult, I felt that I own the world. I can do everything myself. But of course, with mistakes that you make and, the hurdles that you are faced, the challenges you're faced, you tend to say, no, I cannot do it all. I need my family, I need my brothers, my siblings, my community, my country, my brotherhoods. So it's like that,
Definitely well said expressions and stories from your side, Mr. Hamza Taqi. And I'm sure our dear viewers are watching us not just here in Kuwait, but also from different cultures and communities.
Yes.
So we'd love to hear from you and advice for these people watching us in different communities, and how can they make a difference?
Well, if we are talking about adult, look at yourself and look at your values, your what you believe in, and this is how you want to be achieved. At the end of the day, we know how long life is. It's short. Although every day we have a new day, it's a new life for me. I consider it a new life every day because so many people, they go to bed, they don't wake up. So having that gratitude that you have a new life, a new day, living in that sense and contributing, because this is part of, worshipping. When you're contributing to the community, when you're helping others, you are creating a legacy for yourself. At the end of the day, we know what, we're like a guest here. We're going to stay for a few years, 70, 80 if we are lucky, and then we'll go to the grave. Now, when you go, the people who interacted with you, what are they going to talk about you? What are they going to say about you? But whether your children, your colleague at work, whoever, your friends, are they going to say, oh, he was really nice, and they pray for you and they wish you good things? Or they're going to say, oh, we finally, because of your behaviors, your daily behaviors, then it influences your legacy. So behave in a good way. Love people, they love you back.
Inshallah, hopefully, and we really appreciate your advice here for us, and I'm sure our dear viewers really want to thank you for joining us here on Hala Kuwait.
You're welcome, my friend. The pleasure is always mine.
Thank you so much. So, dear viewers, let's all thank the coming of Mr. Hamza Taqi, a master performance in consulting here on Hala Kuwait. And next, dear viewers, we shall take this